Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Jamon's Shadow, and I'm gonna bring you a little tips and tricks video for things you should know about, when playing in Star Wars Empire War, specifically Thrawn's Revenge, and maybe other big mods like Republic at War, Awakening of the Rebellion per se, and eventually, the Yunzal Vong at War. But that's gonna be a totally different experience anyway. I'm just here to give some tips and tricks on things you should know about, strategies in this game. So for starters, stacks. So when you stack things in this game, they move, or you have to. It can be kind of complicated to move them. Like when you move one, just moves one. Well, fun fact: if you hold control and move it, the entire stack goes. Okay, so that's that. Two, don't forget about this little box up here. Always important. This is basic stuff, but people forget this every time I watch a let's play of this game, and it's pretty ridiculous actually. But yeah, never forget this little box up here. That's always important. Bring a unit in early on. Try to sell starfighters early on if you're playing as like the New Republic or something. They're really not that great in my personal opinion. I've heard a lot of use fighter swarms against maybe SSDs, and while they are a pretty key choice for those situations, building up income in my opinion, depending on which GC you do, is way more important. Let's see. Try not to sacrifice your heroes because, as we all know, they don't come back. I keep my main heroes like maybe Luke and Lando just completely out of combat because there's just no point. Heroes, ground heroes specifically, are really not that great. They die really easy. And as a guy who does not like losing his heroes, if you watch my other videos, you've seen that I don't like losing heroes whatsoever. Um, Preserving heroes is just absolutely key in my opinion. But that's just me. If you really don't care about the heroes dying, then by all means sacrifice them or something. But yeah, hero hoarding is important. Number three, number three, four, number four. Yeah, four. Anyway, uh, defending your border worlds that are right next to enemy territories. So right now this is a poor example, but let's look at maybe Maris. So when I build defensive fleets around my border planets, I usually try to keep them in stacks of maybe 40 up to 40 population points in orbit, just to make sure that every single unit in that fleet gets to be in action and I don't have to worry about the game just picking what unit it does not want to be in action. Say I have like a fleet of Star Destroyers and maybe I have like 10 Star Destroyers and 20 Nebula B frigates. It decides to leave out maybe 2 or 3 Star Destroyers in place of those frigates, and that's really a nuisance to me. So yeah, I just keep a specific number of units orbiting each planet. Like I said, maybe around 40 population points worth, because that's the space max per at any given instance. So yeah, I would just recommend maybe 40 units or so. Number five, build up those said border planets with defenses. I mean, your internal worlds are good, but border planets are key. That's really all that is to it. Border planets are key. Number six, make production facilities. So like right here on Philvey, this is something I really started doing more and more of. I didn't do it too often before. Converting planets specifically for one type of factory, because they build like I have 4 factories right here. Any of these units will build like 5 times faster than their normal build rate. So the more you stack, the more quickly your units will build. Number six or seven. It's like 4 a.m., so I'm kind of sleepy. Use your capital ships very, very wisely. I watched some let's plays of certain channels that I'm not gonna witch hunt, and I just saw I've seen so many poor examples of using your capital ships like Star Destroyers correctly. And yes, I'm talking about Thrawn's Revenge. I mean, in the original base game, you could sacrifice whatever; it didn't matter. It didn't cost you much of anything really. But I've just seen people just throw their Star Destroyers at their fleets, enemy fleets, and just not care. They just threw them at the enemy fleet and just like, darn it, I hope we don't lose that Star Destroyer or that ship or whatever. But it was just really a poor commanding choice. Play smart. Use your capital ships as more of assault and defensive units, and use assault frigates and other frigate types and cruisers as defensive types around your capital ships. Not saying throw them at your enemy. You don't want to do that either. But just play smart with your capital ships. Number eight, continuing off of that with like frigates and cruisers, even corvettes, there's no really good reason to sacrifice units. I know a lot of players that just like, yeah, I mean, it's just one ship, it's just that ship, it's blah 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 blah. Well, eventually, people, at least me, I start to notice that as their let's plays go on, they don't have enough defensive units to protect their borders, and their fleets are slowly dwindling down, and then before they know it, they're kind of overrun. So yeah, just play again, playing off the play smart concept. Just be careful with how you play. Don't sacrifice units just cause, and you're like, it's whatever. I guess don't do that. It's a terrible idea, and it will hurt you badly in the long run. Number nine, don't auto resolve space battles unless you absolutely know that your units will win. I don't trust sacrifice or auto resolving even this kind of fleet because it will kill off way too many smaller craft for no reason. It's just not worth it. Rogue Squadron could die, Garmbilibus could die, Fighter Squadron heroes are really susceptible to dying in auto resolves. So don't do it. Bad idea. Now, if I'm using like the super, like the Lucent Kaya or something, I feel like it has a. I've auto resolved a few times with it against smaller fleets, and it just immediately was an instant win. But for smaller fleets like this, or smaller ships, auto resolving is a terrible, 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 terrible idea. And the last thing I'm going to touch on is, for now, unit placement. So let me see if I can start a little small space battle right quick. Gonna be a quick mock little space battle. Not gonna actually finish this off. Just gonna show some proper unit placement in space battles because that actually does matter. I've seen a lot of poor examples of this where people would just, hey, here's some units, and just gonna either they spawn them right in the enemy spawn, or they spawn them all the way to the edge of the map just because they think that's necessary for an organized fleet. I usually start my units around the midway point and bordering their defenses because I mean take advantage of that. That's something you can do in this game, and it's worth every bit of planning that it takes. So yeah, your Corvettes usually start off. Your starting unit should always be a Corvette, in my opinion, because they're fast, they cover the most ground, and they can take care of fighters early on. They can just maneuver around the enemy fleet faster than most enemy ships can actually uh, chase. They're fast. So they've got Golans here. They've got all this, that, and the other. Defensive formations are a must. You see this Imperial fleet. Do not drop your fleet next to it because that's going to just result in their death. Personally, this is actually a really interesting choke point. So I look forward to playing this off screen. So don't drop them right on top of the enemy's fleet. Maybe off to the upper right corner area. You know, keep your ships completely out of the enemy's range. It gives you time to plan your moves. Maybe hit that Golan first, or just wait and see what the enemy does. I mean, we're in the range of that turbo laser fire, so maybe that was a little bit too close, but you get the idea. Just play strategically. Keep your units at a decent location so it does not take forever. Because I've seen people that just spawn their units maybe over here in this little corner, and takes forever for them to move across this field. Especially if you don't micromanage as hard as I do. For example, you know, each certain type of a unit will move faster when it's with that selected group of a unit. So if I have to do this and this, they're going to move slower because this is a Star Destroyer, this is an MC-80. But it all depends on the unit itself. Like if I have an Imperial, like a regular ISD, and maybe like an ISD-2, they're still going to move slower because they're not the literal exact same type of unit. So just play smart, use maneuverability to your advantage. You start off with your field usually open in almost every space map. So spawning your units at the very edge of the map takes forever, and it just will, kill your confidence at a point when you allow your enemies to muster up a stronger defense than you. In a situation like this, I would usually have my ships maybe attack from a longer range because the turbo lasers can only cover so much ground for the enemy Golans. So try to stay out of range of enemy weapons, especially like these Star Destroyers that are approaching. MC-80 wing or Liberty types have the longest range, in my opinion, next to maybe the Majestic class. They fire from a very high distance and can almost never be hit from that same distance. Pretty interesting and pretty ridiculous, but yeah, totally worth using some MC80s in your early fleets. I just completely changed subjects, really, but um, either way, uh, I guess I'm more or less going to the details of properly strategizing on how you're going to actually achieve your combat goals. Play smart, play careful, but not too careful. You got to put some action into it. But yeah, for a simple RTS that Empire Warriors, it actually has a lot more complicated strategic points to it than you actually would think. And I think a lot of people forget that, so they think it's okay just to sacrifice their units or just place them wherever. And it usually results up in a massive failure of a lot of deaths, a lot of destruction, a lot of ships that you won't be able to replace immediately because they're all capital ships or even like I said, smaller ships, frigates, carriers. I don't sacrifice these carriers for anything. The only thing I do sell is usually fighters. I keep some around for maybe if I don't have a Corvette in the fleet, which is pretty rare, but there are choice situations that'll place you like in situations like that. But for the most part, selling a lot of fighters and defensive like borders will just get your income up early. And let's be honest, if I have this fleet, say I control Corlag, and I have maybe five B-wing squadrons and two X-wings, and a fleet of Star Destroyers come at me, what in the world am I gonna do with that? I'm better off just selling those fighters, getting more credits, and able to build up defenses on closer worlds, and you know, able to make a push afterwards. Uh, oh yeah, and then the last thing we're gonna touch on before I end this video is unit numbering. So a lot of people don't know how to properly micromanage from what I've seen in videos. Seen some people do it correctly, but I can't tell you how to avoid that. That's just you play smart. You get your fleet in there early and just try to accomplish whatever destructive goal you're going for as soon as possible. Because those hypervelocity cannons are capital ship eaters. They will completely obliterate a capital ship. They won't sometimes destroy them all the way, but they'll just eat enough health out of them to the point where they're kind of useless and just literally out of battle. And frigates, they absolutely destroy frigates almost on impact. Don't know what he aimed for. He aimed for the MC-80B, and also wiped out the B-wing squadron. So see that this ship is kind of useless once its shields go down. I mean, that's pretty much every ship, but if this one loses its shields, it's dead. And it also lost its engine, so there's no retreating for it. Um, anyway, I'm gonna label this group 4. Maybe this one 1. These 5 maybe. Maybe pair this up with the 1 since they have the longer ranges out of all these capital ships. And I'm pairing the frigates up together because they'll move faster as a group and they'll do a ton of DPS by themselves. While, just gotta play smart with your movement of them. Plan out where you're going. Try to, if you want to do some flanking, do some flanking properly. Give them a lot of opportunities to broadside your enemy. Capital ships should, in my opinion, always be 1. It's the closest key to your left hand when it comes down to it. Starfighter squadrons, I usually label specifically fighters as group 2. It's easy to remember. And bomber squadrons, group 3. 2, 3, 2, 3. Easy. Normally, I save corvettes for the 4th slot, which is just pretty easy when I need some anti-fighter defenses. It's just something I've come accustomed to. You can label it however you want, but in my opinion, it's important to have the closest keys near you so that it's easier just for you to manage your units as fast as you need to. Just just a strategic idea that I came up with, or that I learned through playing this game for like 7 years now. But yeah, otherwise I really can't think of anything else right now. I'm gonna make some more points probably in another video. I'm gonna come up with some more concepts and strategic tips for you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you for watching this video. May the force be with you all, and peace out.